We have seen basically a very rough attack on government officials and particularly members of the central bank, and attacks on the central bank, and the president complaining that some of the proposals that he has made haven't been carried out by the central bank. He also complained in monetary policy that some fiscal policy issues had also not been carried out by the respective agencies. I would like to ask the question, right, as to who appointed the governor of the central bank. I would like to ask the question as to who appointed the secretary of the finance ministry. I would also like to ask him the question as to who appointed the finance minister of the country. All these major appointments have been made by him. And if he is really dissatisfied with their performance, he should first be asking those who are directly appointed by him or those who are responsible to directly report to him, rather than putting pressure on central bank officials for not carrying out government policy. It is a very established practice around the world that the central bank is independent of a government. Monetary policy is independent of a government. Therefore, even appointments are independent. As we know, the Monetary Board is a prime institution in which monetary policy directives are given. There are 3 independent members of the Monetary Board, and recently, due to government pressure, 2 of those members have actually tendered their resignation. I don't know, after the attack and the pressure that has been brought on officials, whether the governor of the central bank may also contemplate such a position, and whether the finance minister of the country might also contemplate such a position of actually tendering his resignation because his performance has been called into question by the president of the country. I think we need to get our responsibilities and facts clear. I am all for efficient administration, but efficient administration cannot be based on the basis of driving fear into people. It has to be based on incentives and based on monitoring how they are actually performing. Soon after this attack, the central bank decided to make some changes. I'm hoping that these economic proposals that they have now made are not based on the fear that has been put into them, but are based on actually good economic fundamentals. The government is moving in the direction that they think that if you increase the availability of credit, that the present crisis can be solved. Therefore, they announced a reduction in the statutory reserve ratio. When the reserve ratio is reduced, more money is put into the system, and therefore banks will have more money. The central bank also announced that there will be a reduced interest rate on a facility that is given by the central bank to banks, and that money will be given at 1% and banks can only lend it at 4%. This may sound like it's good news to businesses which have to borrow and create economic activity. There was also a proposal to provide a government guarantee in which the money could be taken and later companies could actually settle the banks for the loans taken. I hope that that works as they expect. Otherwise, the banking system itself could be in trouble. When interest rates are reduced, there are winners and losers. When interest rates are reduced, normally the losers are deposit holders. The elderly in this country live off interest rate returns. And we know Sri Lanka is a fast aging population, and there are many elderly people who live off their interests. So that would certainly be a downside for those who are living off interest. Therefore, in economic policy, trying to be too simplistic and trying to rush through economic policy without really looking at the consequences is dangerous. Whatever happens, we should not weaken the banking system of this country. We have seen more recently that non-banking financial institutions have been weak, and due to irresponsible statements by cabinet ministers, we have seen depositors gathering outside non-bank financial institutions. Let's not weaken our banking system. Sri Lanka has had a strong banking system over the decades, very carefully managed, and give the independence to the bankers to run their banking system. Politicians, including the president, should keep his hands off the financial system. If politicians interfere in the financial system, a very bad situation could turn into a very dangerous situation and into economic calamity.